Good morning, my friends. We are back for part 2 of planting the dining patio, and here we are at the the furthest forward corner of my patio. We have another trio. So you saw me in part 1 do the trio on the northwest side, and today we are doing the trio on the southeast side. Now, what's kind of interesting about this, and where I think I would love to lead us in discussion today, is interesting arrangements. And sometimes we have containers that can be seen from all sides. And so this is an example of this. The container right here to my left, this big white one, I currently have a 5-star jasmine in it that is going to be climbing up. What's interesting about this container is that you really see it when you walk up the pathway to our front door. However, it does have a little bit of like a backside to it. So that is why I've positioned this blue container right up next to it so that it helps it's almost as if I'm creating a singular design. Does that make sense? Because both of them lead to this center point of the 5-star jasmine. And then last but not least, we've got this little tiny guy here. When I purchased these beautiful cobalt containers, they actually came in a set of 3. And so typically I wouldn't buy something that small because it's really hard to keep it watered. In fact, if you go back and you watch our container shopping video, I do discuss that. And because this one is so difficult to keep water, I'd like to do some really drought tolerant options in there. So what we're going to do today is we are going to get these 2 containers spruced up. We're going to strip out the spring florals. I'm going to pass along my saxifrage to a girlfriend of mine. These guys, let's talk about these geranium, this narcissus geranium. It is May 11th today. These have been going since March. I mean, probably one of the best performers in a container that I have used to date. These I'm actually going to put out in my landscape because I think they go really, really well in this front border. So in any event, let's kind of jump in. Last week you saw me use the Datura Ballerina Yellow. It is so lovely. I'm going to put that one as my centerpiece here. And then to marry the containers, I'm going to use another yellow centerpiece here. In this one, I'm going to use the Abutilon Lucky Lantern Yellow. And so I want this like strong, like yellow story going on between the containers. And as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I bought that apple mint from the Tilth Edible Plant sale. I think I'm going to put it in that tiny container because, as we all know, mint can be a thug in the garden, and I don't want to put him in the ground because I'll never get him out. So with all that having been said, I'm going to jump into these containers. You're going to see me strip them all out, and then we'll kind of design the trio. I think this might be interesting. A lot of times what I'll do when I have a collection is I will do every single centerpiece first, and then I will design out from there because I want to make sure that all of my elements are connecting as I go. I never design a container in a vacuum. I never design it in and of itself when it is in a collection like this. They all have to talk to one another. So these ones I'm going to save. Oh my gosh, this is rooted all over. Got it. That is one happy aster. So here we are, we've stripped out our containers and now we're adding our centerpieces. I am treating this big white container as if it needs a centerpiece because it is so large and because this vertical element is quite tall. It's almost like too tall for the eye to read them as a grouping. So I drop my eye lower so that these 3 are reading as a grouping. So I have yellow here. I have yellow here, and then we know that this is just a mint pot, and I don't really feel like it needs to necessarily directly translate. However, we do have some of this sedum here, so I am going to bring in some of this bluer texture. Now, one thing that you're going to think about when you are doing a grouping of containers, you want your centerpieces to be harmonious, okay? So here's what I mean. You are going to vary leaf shape, you are going to vary the texture of your centerpieces, and you are going to vary the heights of your centerpieces. If you'll notice, we're going tall, medium, small, because remember this datura, it can get quite large. This little guy will probably end up being around in here, so maybe about a foot lower, and then the mint will just kind of stay a more petite element. The other thing, we have this nice giant oblong, very tropical almond-shaped leaf. Over here, we have this incredible kind of mapley looking leaf. So again, a lot of texture here. Another thing that you could do is this is where you have green here, you have green here. You could go variegated in your mid-story. You could go strappy in your mid-story. So this is where you can really start playing with building texture in your centerpieces. This is what I'm using, so I'm gonna pop those in first. A note about my choice of positioning. I am centering my centerpiece here because you get a little bit more of a radius view. It's really all but visible from this angle. For this one, I'm actually going to angle it towards the back because you can't really see it from this direction, but you do see it all the way around here. So I am positioning it towards the back right here. And I'm going to position it so that this pot is going to be enjoyed from this angle. That's another thing to think about. How is your pot going to be enjoyed? Where are people going to see it from? So it's going to be enjoyed from this angle here. Ooh, there she is. Okay, white will have to do. So what I have done is I'm actually very, very happy with these placements. I have packed this thing so full to the gills. We're gonna see how they do. I'm putting in a lot of competition. So some of these things may fizzle out a little bit, but I think they'll marry once this guy gets some good height. The coleus, I am aiming to be my second story. And then what I'm thinking of doing is this pack white Cosmo. I'm thinking of putting some back here because I thought it might be like a fun play between the two pots. And in fact, I'm thinking maybe what I do is I put one up here and I put two down here. I don't know, we're gonna see. But I'm gonna go ahead and start putting things in. I think what's happening here, and what you saw me do, is I wanted to bring in this beautiful rift blue lobelia on either side to pull in the blue of the container. What you're also gonna see is I'm kind of doing like a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump here. I have mid-tone green, chartreuse, silver, chartreuse, mid-tone green. So I'm really having our eye move around quite a bit. I did put this lobelia kind of off the back side because you do get just a teeny tiny peekaboo here, and I thought that might be fun cascading down. And then to break up all of this business, I wanted to bring in a bicolor floral. So here we have that. It's like a barely there yellow with a little bit of a brighter throat. All right, friends, we have a very full pot here, but remember, I am knowing what these plants are going to do, and if you don't, read the tag because it's going to tell you what to expect. My centerpiece is the datura. She's gonna get super big and almost form a little bit of a canopy here. Next up is my mid-story. This is where I'm using the Coleus Sun Chocolate. This is going to be about 2 feet, and I'm gonna expect it to blouse out. And so I've got 3 of these planted in here. Now, to bring a bit of this dark down to the front, I am using this new sweet potato vine that I am so excited to see how this performs. It's just so darn cool. It's fun. It's a little bit softer when I pair it with chartreuse. I think it's really, really interesting. And this is going to be a trailie bit. Lobelia, again, trailie bit. I've got a little bit of Creeping Jenny out the front. And then on the side here, we have the germander and we have this yellow pechoa that is so, so cute. And all of these things, all of these ones in the front, these are going to be little cascadey bits. And then we're going to, so they'll really maybe only be about this big, and then we'll pop up to the coleus, and then we'll pop up to the datura. So again, we're playing with a lot of levels, a lot of height. Make sure you read your plant tags. Oh, I almost forgot. We have my little Cosmo at the back. The reason I'm planting it back here is to break up these two centerpieces, but also marry them together. Remember, it is that beautiful, frothy, white Sonata Cosmo, yellow center with the white petal, so it will balance these two yellow centerpieces really beautifully. All right, shoot, you guys. I really wanted to use this white Gara in here. If you were to use this, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I would use it right in there. Now, the reason I'm not using this is because look, mid-tone green, chartreuse, but we have so many mid-tones here, 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 here. And I really wanted to trial this coleus because it's such great texture. So instead, this little white Gara, she is destined for my border. I want to drop another hint here for planting a container. When you plant a container, a lot of people have the inclination that they want to like move around the container, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you do that, you heavily run the risk of getting a lopsided container. Even myself as a professional who literally will, in her busy season, plant 50 containers a week, I still adhere to this rule. I want to pick a center point and plant my radius from there. The other thing that I always do, and I've talked about this in Container Design 101, actually Container Design 101 Part 2 specifically, is I start with my centerpiece, mid-story, fluffy traily bits every single time. So that is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm pulling out all of my edge plants. I'm setting them around the container right down on the ground. And so I remember where to put them, and then we go. All right, next thing I'm gonna build in are my chartreuse traily bits. I have my chartreuse traily bits contrasting right in front of this chocolate. That is gorgeous. These are super healthy. All right, friends, front porch time. Now, I've gone back and forth about what I want to do here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a partial change out. Now, we are in a rare moment where this sucker is getting blasted by sun, but I know that in maybe an hour and a half, it's going to go full shade for the rest of the day. So this is the morning sun. This is when it's going to be the most gentle. I'm going to put a few things in here that are going to push the envelope. Wish me luck. But I think what I'm going to do is whenever you're coming across a pot that you want to redo, I like to evaluate. What do I want to keep? What am I getting rid of? Now, this is a euonymus. I believe this is Silver King. I'll double check it for you. But the reason I chose this is it looks beautiful against our dark house. This is a color called Ambiguous Black. So this is Miller paint. It has just a hair of green in it, and it is super dark. And what I love is that when you bring in an element that's chartreuse like this, it just illuminates off of the house. Already, I'm taking a look at this, and I know I love my Sedum Angelina, such a good performer. My heuchera is so happy in this container. My saxifrage, this one is getting transplanted. This is gonna go in all of the other ones. My little fern back here, actually it's sending out some new curlicues. She's happy. And I've got a little moss in the back, and that's happy too. So fern stays, moss stays, heuchera stays, Sedum Angelina, centerpiece stays. The rest of it, say goodbye. Okay, friends, there are two euonymuses that look very similar. There's Silver King and Silver Queen. I prefer Silver King. I don't know why. I can't remember, but I established this long ago. I prefer Silver King. I have a head scratcher on my hands. So this is actually kind of a tricky container because it's like I have to make a decision. I can go completely different here, or I can have it relate to the dining patio that is just over my left shoulder. I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to split the middle. I want to bring in a few elements that I've used over in the dining patio, but I also want this to feel like it's its own personality. It has a bit more funk with this container choice. This is our moon, and I love it so very much. It goes with our tiny astronaut. And so I love that this reads a little bit more like fun, funky, rock and roll. I liked it to be more playful because that's like the energy of our home, is like play and fun. So I want to bring a couple things in. Now this I am loving. And what you're going to notice is I'm bringing in a lot of this mid-tone green to pull in mid-tone green. So this is something that I played with. This is, I think, going to be really, really lovely, maybe right here in the center. The other thing I played with, though, this is where I have to make a decision, and that decision is going to be hard. I really love this. Really love that. The other thing that I have here is this coleus. This is going to get about 2 feet tall. I could put this kind of where it might cascade out the back a little bit. That might be fun back there. And so I'm doing kind of my diagonal move where I move across. The other thing that I have is I have this sweet potato vine. I could easily tuck that in there, or I could tuck that off the back. That might be a little too intense. Okay, this maybe what I do then is I could pop this over there. That's really sweet. In fact, I have 4 in there, so I could put a couple here, a couple here. And then I am down to some of this lobelia. This one is the Magadi blue. It's a little bit more of a saturated blue, so this feels a little bit more, it's got a little bit of bronze that kind of relates here. So that's very cool. The other option is I go with my Rift blue. And that's got a bit more brightness to the green. A little bit more white and speckle here. Oh, you guys, this is really hard. I brought over a white geranium, but like, I just kind of don't think that's the move. I don't think it's the move. Okay, she's gone. Calibrachoa. I also don't think that's the move. That feels like too sweet. I want this to feel more funky. Okay, dichondra. That's like textural and fun. That might kind of be cool. That actually might be kind of cool back here. That spot, by the way, in that back corner, it always gets the most dry, and that's a drought tolerant selection. That might be the ticket. So I think now I'm down to this or that. I'm doing it. I'm going with Rift Blue. I like it. It's fun. It goes with that stuff. I know that I've used Magadi Blue. I've used Techno Blue. Lobelia loves this parts on location. Okay, so essentially, whenever I'm doing a container, I always stand back and look. When I'm at like a decision point where I'm like, oh, which way do I go? I will step fully back to see what my eye is drawn to. And what we were talking about just now is that this volume that comes out here is amazing. I mean, this will get there, but it also has this slight tinge to the leaf that kind of pulls everything together. And we've got a diagonal here. I'm going to put another one here. So we've got this cool X shape going on. And I think it's just the move. It's just the move. All right, let's do it. Friends, it is the next day, and I am still pleased as punch with this new color story that we have going on out here at the dining patio. I hope this is inspiring for all of you to try a little something new. I actually didn't think that I was going with this yellow, white, blue situation, but I'm obsessed, and I think it is so fun, and it's so good for my soul to just bust out of my comfort zone and try a new color combination. I hope you have all had a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for watching, and as always, go say hello to your garden for me.